Welcome to the First and 30 podcast, Antonino. This is episode 60, so why don't you share with any new members of the chain movement what it is that we do over here at First and 30?
We are two 30-something-year-old guys giving you 4 draft recap downs in 30 red pen report card minutes of NFL football insight to get you through your hump day.
That's right. We are going to be going through the 2025 NFL Draft in this episode today, Antonino. We're, going to cover some winners, losers, give out our grades. I mean, we're playing teacher again. I love this part, right? You know, there's a good transition for me now that I'm, teaching and stuff.
Stay tuned because this episode, there's going to be a lot of red pen letter Fs. I've been waiting my whole life for this, so we're giving out fat Fs.
To the Bengals draft class.
Take it easy.
Yeah, dude. So before we get into this, tell me, how did you spend draft night? Did you do it in Tampa again?
I spent my draft night at the 50-yard line of Raymond James Stadium's right in Tampa Bay Buccaneers headquarters. It was amazing fun and games and drinks and events and obstacles, 40-yard dash, high jump, you name it, they had it all. And they fired off the cannons. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, there we go for their pick.
Yep.
They fired them off. Okay. And did you do the 40-yard dash? I mean, what are you running these days? Like a 7 flat, 6 flat, if we're being generous?
My 4 or 5 days are behind me, but I did not participate in too many events. I'm still recovering my shoulder from my hockey playing game. Yep.
I gotcha. Well, it sounded like your experience was a lot more entertaining than mine. I was on the couch trying to fight off the Z's just to get to the end of the draft, but it was good. I mean, I was texting you throughout too. We were like sharing our excitement and our disbelief at some of the things, but we're going to react on that in the episode.
And I completely know that everyone listening appreciates you fighting off that disease and being here the same way 600,000 people were in Green Bay watching the draft. 600,000 people appreciate you being here, Nick.
Oh, wow. That's a record, right? I think that broke last year's.
Yes.
All right, cool, man. Well, let's get into this episode. First down, we're going to talk about the winners. Let's keep this on a high note, a good high energy heading into the episode. So how about we go back and forth, man? Let's name a few teams, maybe players, situations, whatever you want to do. Like, free reign over this. But give me your first winner. I'll give you mine, and we'll go back and forth, and then we'll get into the losers in the second down.
All right, first thing first here. Don't get distracted. The winner of the day is the Tennessee Titans, the team that had the first pick, and they picked the best quarterback in the draft. That's Cam Ward, folks. Give the man his flowers. He has a humble beginning. He defied the odds, and he was the first pick. Humble guy. Couldn't be happier for him.
It's pretty crazy, his story, right? Like, no one really knew his name going into this college football season. I mean, where was he at prior to going to Miami?
The dude was playing for an FCS school, Incarnate Word. No one's even seen it or could point it out on a map. Incarnate Word. No. Then went to Washington to play for the Cougars, Washington State, for a couple years, thought about going to the draft, and went to Miami for one season where he lit it up.
I wonder if Titan fans are really excited about this pick because he is the best quarterback in this draft class, but this was kind of a weak QB class. So I'm wondering, was he the best player? Did he deserve to go to one? Obviously, we know the position gets a little inflated with value, so it's natural to see the top quarterback go number one, but I don't know. I'm wondering if he was actually like the best value there for Tennessee, and if Titan fans are like, well, we still got Will Levis. Maybe he's something. I don't know.
I tapped into my Titans resource from back home, Joe Sav. I know he's probably listening. He said he's hesitant. He's excited, but he's hesitant. He's been through a lot. He's seen some quarterbacks not work out, so I understand.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the last episode, Jake Locker, Vince Young, all those guys, yeah. Well, I'm hoping for the best for Cam Ward. I'm rooting for him. He seems like a good guy. He seems humble. I saw some clips of him just talking about like where his perspectives are. All this guy cares about is football. I mean, from a first pick standpoint and from an organizational standpoint, that's what you want to hear when a dude's trying to sell himself through the process. It's like, what are your priorities? Football? Okay, good. Let's sign up. Let's sign you up. You're on the team.
I couldn't agree more. That's what GMs look for, and they took him number one.
Cool. All right. I'm going to tell you one of mine here. And I've been seeing a lot of hate with the Atlanta Falcons draft. I saw a Ringer post, a Ringer article where this author just slammed the Falcons for moving back up into the first round and taking James Pierce from Tennessee, the edge rusher. I get it. I get the justification. You're giving up a future first to move back into the first for an edge rusher. The Falcons have been criticized for a lot of their moves recently with Kirk Cousins last year and then drafting Michael Penix. So there's a lot of questions around the direction Raheem Morris and the GM are taking this team. But I loved their first round. They go ahead and grab Jalen Walker from Georgia. Honestly, I think this was a slide. I think you had him going to the 49ers in our mock. A lot of people were saying this guy was a top 10 pick. He fell to them at 15. Great value. Atlanta's been needing a linebacker and a pass rusher here for years now. And then they go ahead and double down later in the first and grab James Pierce. I like it. I mean, this team, second worst in the league in sacks last year with only 31. So, go ahead, address an issue and invest big time in it in this draft. I thought it was a great draft for the Falcons. I think they're winners. They have a young offense loaded with first-round talents, defense too now.
I could not agree more with your take here, Nick. You are spot on. Jalen Walker, James Pierce. Wow, what a combo. And then they steal Xavier Watts in the third round, safety out of Notre Dame. Falcons, come on now. That's an A.
I like it. Yeah. Okay. Give me one more, Antonino, and I'll give you one more.
So this is easy, folks. My favorite draft crush of the year is a guy by the name of Jackson Dart, and he went to those New York G-Men Giants. And not only that, they also got Abdul Carter in the first round. The Giants, I have a feeling in my stomach, and it's not what I ate for lunch. I feel like the Giants are on to something here. Their defense is scary. Then in the third round, they got a huge D tackle. They spent money in free agency with Javon Holland. They've done so much to this defense. I would not want to face them next year.
No, their defense is looking formidable. That's for sure. Give me a quick reaction, though. Do you think Jackson Dart is the answer? He's going to save Joe Sheehan, Brian Dable's job this season? Do you think he's like it? I mean, he's your Bo Nix this season, right? He's your Bo Nix.
Jackson Dart is going to emerge halfway through the year when Russell Wilson has some speed bumps, some ups and downs. He'll emerge, and not only him, it'll be Cam Skattebo, the running back they got in the fourth round. Jackson Dart, Cam Skattebo leading the offense with a dominant defense. Watch out for these Giants. A+ for the Giants.
Okay. All right. I like it. I mean, I do like it and I don't like it as a Cowboy fan, but whatever. Real quick, I'll give you one here. How about some quarterbacks? I was thinking about the Browns. I liked their draft. But how about Caleb Williams? He gets a pass-catching tight end in the first round in Colston Loveland. Also, Luther Burden in the second round, the wide receiver out of Missouri. This was a guy that was being mocked in the first, maybe even in the teens. So they land him in the second. Bryce Young gets a big-time target in Tet McMillan, who I thought the Cowboys were going to take at 12. It was a bit of a reach. There was some reactions there, but I like that for Bryce Young. They're giving him another outside option outside of Xavier Legette. Geno Smith gets Ashton Genty, Jack Beck, and two more wide receivers later in the draft. And then Justin Fields, they go ahead and get another offensive lineman to protect him. So all these quarterbacks, man, you saw it. Even Drake May, the Patriots, they just went all in on their young QBs, investing in the line, investing in some weapons to put around these guys to give them a fair chance at being successful this season. So I really liked it for these QBs.
So the QBs were indirectly the winners as a whole. I like that.
Yeah, why not? All right, man, let's flip the coin though, okay? I love the positivity that we bring, and I think this is natural in the sports talk world. Well, we got to talk about the negatives because everybody likes hearing the negative stuff, but let's do it. Let's play into that narrative. Give me some of the losers of this draft. Teams, players. I mean, the obvious one is Shedeur, but we're going to save him for after halftime because that's a special story, I think, that we need to dig into.
Yes, that's for sure. But I'm going to focus on another quarterback for now, and I'm giving a fat F minus to Quinn Ewers. Poor guy is the biggest loser of the entire weekend. Not that he's not talented, not that he might have a great career. The fact that he probably lost $8 million of NIL money by not returning to Texas. I'm ill.
That is wild. Well, okay, we were talking about this before, right? If he returned to Texas, there is a very good chance he would not have beaten out Arch Manning. Everybody, I mean, they were putting in Arch in certain points last season too. So we probably presume he wouldn't beat out Arch Manning, which leaves him the option, transfer. Go somewhere else, make that NIL deal. You even went as far as last week or the last during our mock draft episode is saying yours could have been a sneaky first round pick.
Yeah.
The teams, they weren't buying any of the dip this year, man, on these QBs. None of the dip.
So the losers, Quinn Ewers, and whoever he's taking advice from, all these geniuses saying second round grade, third round grade, poor guy, loser, Quinn Ewers.
Well, I mean, one of my losers were the quarterback class, the 2025 QB class. Outside of Cam Ward, really, there were not great prospect options. I know you're high on Jackson Dart. He snuck into the first round. The Giants obviously loved him. His name was really starting to surface and gain some momentum as this process went along. But honestly, man, I could see this being one of the big quarterback draft flops. It kind of like reminiscent of, I forgot the draft that had EJ Manuel in it. That was way back in the years. But this just seems to me like it was a weak QB class. The GMs, the owners, the coaches weren't buying the dip, which is why you see guys like Ewers fall to the 7th, guys like Will Howard in the 6th, and so on. So this QB class, I think it was. Let's chalk it up as an L.
Whoa. Wait a second. So you mean to tell me you don't like Tyler Show going in the second round?
Oh, shock. Shove
it. He can shove it because that guy's F minus to Kellen Moore. That's my next loser.
Wow.
Kellen Moore, new head coach of the Saints. You're trying to get your quarterback of the future, whatever it might be. F minus. You're getting Tyler Shock, or however you say his name. He spent 3 years at Oregon, 3 years at Texas Tech, and then he finally gets a chance at Louisville. He put up 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Nothing to write home about. And that's who you pick?
Dude, did you hear his name gaining momentum though too? There were some people that were saying, I mean, this was like a week leading up to the draft. There were analysts and the professionals out there saying that this guy could have been a first round pick. He's 25, he's going to be 26. Really unorthodox career trajectory because of injuries, but good arm, good size. People were really falling in love with him as this process was going deeper. I wasn't surprised to see him go in the second. I'll be honest. I was surprised that he was picked over Shedeur in that spot, but I was not surprised to see him go in the second.
Shedeur and I think Milroe and a couple other big names, obviously Ewers. But I was a little surprised. I know the viral video of him throwing at the combine, he tried to throw a sidearm, then it was a really bad throw. That video went viral, but he could be a great quarterback. I'm just surprised it was the second round. Kellen Moore, F.
Yeah. I would say Will Johnson was kind of a loser in this too. This was a guy that was, probably starting off the fall season. He was projected as a top 5, top 10 pick. Everybody was like Will Johnson, cornerback number 1 in this upcoming draft. And then he just, because of injuries, he missed some time during the season. During the whole draft, process, he wasn't participating in the 40, so teams were already questioning his speed and lack thereof, and it ended up hurting him. He fell all the way to the second round. This was a dude that, even going into this, he was still being ranked as like a top 10 guy, so surprising to see him drop all the way to the second. What a steal, though. Did you have any others?
I have one more, and I hope Will Johnson wears that like a chip on his shoulder. He could still be successful. I'm cheering for him, that's for sure. But I have 2 quick ones, and they're both in the same division, the NFC North. I'm going to give an F to the Packers and the Bears, specifically both of their first-round picks. The Bears chose Colston Loveland instead of Tyler Warren. I thought that was a little surprise, especially at pick 10. I thought that was a surprise, especially when the Bears just gave Cole Kmet a big contract a year ago. So I thought that was a surprise. And on the Packers side of things, they draft Matthew Golden, a receiver, in the first round that I thought he'd be available late. He has troubles with drops. He has trouble with man coverage. Good receiver. But at 25, when you have Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, McCole Hardman, Dontavian Wicks, you have receivers, very strange from both teams in the NFC North.
I disagree, but we won't get into all the disagreement. I think they were decent picks. I mean, I get it with the Loveland. People thought Warren was the 1A to the 1B. Whatever. They liked Loveland more. His pro comp is Mark Andrews. That's what a lot of people were saying. Whatever. Golden, there was some people saying he was going to go as high as Dallas at 12. So not surprised that the Packers went ahead and took him. They haven't drafted a wide receiver in the first round since 2004. So that was awesome. Seeing the reaction of the fans to a wide receiver being picked in Green Bay was super cool.
we'll revisit this throughout the year, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, man. So Cole, we went through our winners and our losers. Let's let these vocal cords rest for a half minute during this half-minute halftime show.
All right, you know what time it is. Grab your water, grab your Gatorade. But I want to first give everyone listening the Chain Movement an A+. Yes, that's right. I'm giving you an A+ to all our listeners. We've had a huge following join us for the draft coverage, and we are glad to have you. Welcome to the First and 35.
Yeah, welcome. And if you want to join the conversation, reach out to us at f30pod@gmail.com. If you have comments, thoughts, questions that want to be featured on our episode, we will feature it. Just ask our good old friend Washington Joe over there. We'll be shouting him out later on in this episode. But okay, man, I teased to this in second down, but we need to spend a whole down talking about the big storyline. I know you don't. This is getting overplayed at this point, but I think we have to talk about the Shedeur Sanders free fall. Here was a guy projected, some saying top 5, others saying top 10 pick. He goes all the way to the 5th round at Cleveland. Cleveland Browns go ahead and take him in the 5th. So I want to spend this time, you and I, let's debate, let's think it through. We're going to put it out there. What happened? What happened to Shedeur?
Shedeur went through an interview process, and he did terrible throughout the whole interview process, even though everyone knew he had the skills. But the whole step of the way, skipping workouts, skipping combine drills, skipping GM interviews if the team wasn't in the top 10, he did all the wrong things throughout his metaphorical interview, and that led to this happening, and I'm not surprised in the least.
So let me ask you, Antonino. Yes, we've heard the reports that these things are true, that he refuted going to certain interviews with teams because they just weren't in his interest, or maybe they're outside the top 10, and that he interviewed poorly. He came prepared to some of these interviews, like a Brian Dable, telling him, hey, if you watched last year's Hard Knocks during the offseason, Dable really grills some of these quarterbacks, challenges them during these interviews. And it sounded like Sanders just dropped the ball. But let me ask you, man, we see it time and time again in the NFL where talent always will trump whatever personal baggage these dudes are carried. You could have a guy like Green over there from Marshall who had accusations of doing whatever to a girlfriend. You can have Tyreek Hills in the world who also have accusations of battery and assault and whatever, and he goes in the 3rd round. So why is this different, though? And I think that's what we need to put. Why is this situation different, that the personality did not trump the talent, or the talent didn't trump the personality?
I'm glad you brought that up, because NFL teams, they want to win at all costs. They don't care about nothing else. If that player can make them win football games, that's all that matters. But to answer your question, I personally believe the answer to that question is the circus that comes with Deion Sanders' son. Yes, his dad, his son, his brothers, the circus that comes with it. That's a distraction to the culture, the ownership, and any team that acquired him.
So I think there's definitely this factor of a brand that you're drafting in addition to the talent. There's this, which I don't think we've seen something like Shedeur. We haven't seen a prospect and a player like Shedeur that had the level of celebrity that he had going in. You could argue maybe some of the Mannings, because of their father, but that was different, right? Like Shedeur himself has marketed himself as the personality, as the brand through his father, Dion. And I think it quite simply pegs down to the talent didn't live up to the hype or the brand, right?
Yep.
Like if you think about it, man, Deion Sanders, here's a guy, he could afford skipping out on interviews. He could afford, writing off practice because he was naturally a gifted athlete whose athleticism superseded whatever, limitations you saw. Shedeur is not the same type of athlete. He has limitations as a player.
Yes. I agree with you. Absolutely. I agree with you. There's no way around that. He took sacks he wasn't supposed to take. His reads are questionable. You could go down the line. He played for Colorado. They didn't play the best competition. The team didn't exactly kill the competition either for the 2 years he was there, but he put up big numbers. But he also had Travis Hunter over there, the Heisman winner. But he didn't have a great O-line the first year, so he got better the second year. Point being, yes, the skill set isn't completely there. He didn't exactly face the full competition. He had his dad as the head coach. There's so many variables here. And at the end of the day, I think that scared teams away.
I agree. And I don't think we've seen anything like this. I don't think we will. We might see more of this with NIL and with social media and like this branding. There could be other situations like this to occur too. But this is the modern day of football. Like, I think that's why this was different, because we didn't have NIL 10 years ago. We didn't have this social media personality brand presence combined with these two forces. Yes. And with these two forces, we saw firsthand what could happen with a Shedeur Sanders. So, all right, man. Anything else with Shedeur before we wrap up that talk and throw a bow on it?
If there's one last thing I want everyone to do is go on YouTube. His brother has a channel called Well Off Media. He follows Dion. He follows Shedeur. He follows Shiloh, the other brother who got signed by the Buccaneers. You can see behind the scenes their personality, how they react to everything. And one last quick fun fact. He's number one in jersey sales out of all the players drafted. So money's going to come with this for the Browns.
Yep. And maybe that's why they took him. They're like, whatever. We can bite the bullet here, even though we take Dylan Gabriel in the third round.
Yeah, cringe.
Okay, man. Well, let's wrap up this episode with a fun down here. Fourth and forever. It's report card time.
Yes.
Let's give out our grades. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. I want reactions. We prepped a little bit. Okay, so just to preface, we did prep. We did our homework, and we marked these grades. So let's go rapid fire. You do one, I do one. So give me your first team and your grade here.
The Baltimore Raven Ratbirds. I'm going to take it easy on you guys. B+. I really think they had a great draft. Malachi Starks out of Georgia. Great safety. Mike Green. Emory Jones in the third round. Heck of a draft. And they got their kicker of the future in the sixth round, Tyler Loop.
Nothing stops the Ravens from drafting a guy with questionable personality and history. Go Mike Green. I'm sure Ravens fans are going to forget all about that if he gets double-digit sacks. But, all right, how about the other team in the DMV, man? The Washington Commanders. We had Washington Joe actually reach out to our email saying that he would like to see them fill in some of the gaps. Defensive back he was hoping for, offensive line support. He wouldn't even hate it if they got a sleeper receiver. And guess what they did in their first three picks, Antonino? They go ahead and they get that offensive tackle, Josh Cornerly. Second round, they grab Trey Amos. And then in the third round, Jalen Lane. So there you go, Washington Joe. Are you happy with these picks? They answered the call, but I'm going to give them a B-. There was some back-end stuff I didn't like too much. Cornerly, I think it's a good, not sexy pick, but whatever. B- for my Commanders for Joe, Washington Joe over there.
That's a solid grade. And I had other NFC East people hitting me up, specifically Eagles fans. Ugh. What is the grade? What they want to know the grade? Well, here's your grade. I'm giving you guys a B, a solid B. They got Jahad Campbell. He dropped a little bit because of injuries. heck of a pickup at 31. My goodness. And then the second round, they got the safety from Texas. Makuba, big fan of his. He should start soon. 6th round, Kyle McCord. Don't know. Interesting name to throw out there. But the 7th round, keep an eye on Antoine Paul Ryland. If you're an Eagles fan, he played at Virginia Tech. Keep an eye for that 7th round pick.
Yeah, Kyle McCord.
For the Eagles.
Kyle McCord's quarterback, Syracuse, 6th round, probably be a backup. They need a backup behind Hurts. I don't hate that grade. I think that's good. The Jets, though, we have Armand Membo, which, let me just say, we nailed the first 7 picks in our mock draft, Antonino, and it all ended after Membo, unfortunately. But Membo in the first, Mason Taylor in the second. I'm going to give the Jets a B here. I liked the Malachi Moore pick in the 4th round, safety out of Alabama. Thomas out of Florida State, the cornerback, a little bit on the slower side. Wasn't a huge fan of that, but all in all, you can't go wrong with getting one of the top tackles in the draft, and I think that, to me, inflates their grade a little bit. Mason Taylor, too, son of Jason Taylor. This is a guy that was projected as a 1st-round pick, so B for the Jets.
I like it. If you notice, there's a trend here. We're aiming at all the teams of the listeners, the most popular teams of the listeners, the Ravens, the Commanders, the Jets, the Eagles. But how about we give them our teams, Nick? I'll start with the Bengals. Bengals, I'm a little disappointed, but I'm giving it a B-, okay? They went full potential mode. They've got freakish athletes throughout the draft, and you got to hope for the best with all these guys, with all these teams. Shamar Stewart, we projected him going top 10. We get him at 17. I'll take it. We got Demetrius Knight, the 3rd best linebacker in the draft, the fastest linebacker in the draft. And we got 2 offensive linemen that are the best pass protectors in the draft. They both only gave up 2 sacks all last year. All year, they only gave up 2 sacks combined. So we're protecting Joe Burrow. We got linebackers. We got D-end. We did what we had to do, and let's hope for the best. B-.
I'm glad that you take that. And I will put this little asterisk. You did not like Shamar Stewart as a prospect when we talked about him. I had him going 8th to Carolina, and you rattled him because he only had 4 sacks his entire college career. An edge rusher that can't get sacks.
3 sacks, one and a half sacks last year. So it does hurt. That's why I gave him B-.
The irony that he falls to the Bengals and they take him. I love it. All right, man. I'll be quick with my Cowboys. I am actually stoked about this draft. I'm giving them an A to A-. They went unsexy with Tyler Booker in the 1st round, but then they go ahead and get Ezeraku in the 2nd round. This was a top edge rushing prospect who had a 1st-round grade. Siobhan Revel, a cornerback who also had a 1st-round prospect grade but had a torn ACL at East Carolina. They go ahead and grab 2 running backs later on, another tackle. It's a good draft for Dallas. I liked it. The only thing they didn't grab was a wide receiver. That's the only thing that would have prevented them from getting an A+ in my book.
Yes, I agree with you. They just were missing a receiver. That's why I'm not giving them an A. But I digress. I'm going to point out another team here real quick, the Miami Dolphins. I feel like they did very well with the picks they had. They got a big D tackle out of Michigan. They got Jonah out of Arizona, the guard. 2 Maryland players. I like your polo, Nick, so I got to shout out the UMD players here, couple UMD players. And they got Ollie Gordon. People, he was the leading rusher in all of college football a short year ago. He was leading the whole college football game. He was a beast, and he goes in the 6th round. That's so sad. The Dolphins, I'm giving them an A+. And they got
A+.
Yes, Quinn Ewers.
Ending this on a high note.
A+. Them and the Giants, A+.
Wow. Okay. I think we should wrap it up. Like you ended on such a high note. The A+ with the Dolphins. I like it. Okay, so that was the draft, man. It's all in the books. How about we head into the 2-minute drill, because there's been a lot of news, a lot of things that have been happening and shaken up over the past couple weeks too.
That's right. Let's get everyone up to speed. The Washington Commanders reveal a $3 billion stadium plan to move the team back to D.C. to the old RFK Stadium site.
Hunter Renfrow, the wide receiver, returns back out of retirement. He signs with the Panthers to help bolster that wide receiver room.
Former Florida State University quarterback Jordan Travis today said he's going to retire from his bad knee injury at Florida State. It never recovered like he hoped.
Wow. So the NFL draft had a prank call results, a bunch of prank calls that resulted in a fine of $250,000 to the Falcons, $100,000 to their defensive coordinator, Jeff Albright. There were multiple prank calls to multiple players during the draft too. You gotta go look at the names for that.
Shame on them. Trey McBride before the draft became the highest paying tight end at 4 years, $76 million. But wait, George Kittle after the draft became the highest paid tight end with 4 years, $76.4 million. Two tight ends getting paid the big bucks.
They were just waiting for that contract to drop to sign him. But another big contract, the Texans go ahead and re-sign Jalen Petrie to a 3-year, $39 million deal. He'll be locking down that secondary with Derek Stingley here next season.
The Bears signed a cornerback of their own, Kyler Gordon, 3 years, $40 million.
While guys are signing contracts, other guys are retiring, including Patrick Peterson, Julio Jones, Tyron Smith, and Zach Martin. They've all officially retired from the NFL.
Don't let it go unspoken. Before the Cleveland Browns drafted two quarterbacks, they signed none other than Joe Flacco.
And then Trey Lance, former Cowboy, signs a one-year deal worth $2 million to be a backup with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Case Keenum signed a one-year deal with the Chicago Bears.
Josh Johnson has signed on for another team at the age of 38 and has played with more than 14 teams in his NFL career.
Drew Lock has signed a contract with the Seattle Seahawks.
And the Vikings extended linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel to a one-year, $23 million extension.
Last but not least, the AFC North got a couple new receivers. The Steelers signed Robert Woods, and the Browns signed Deontay Johnson.
Woo! That was fast. We were going super speed there.
Jeez, we had to get everyone caught up. It's been a couple weeks since we've done the 2-minute drill, but we do the best we can here, and we did the best we could with this draft, folks. That was so much fun last week, this week. Favorite time of the year. Glad we could bring it to everyone. And don't forget, these teams are not done. Free agents are out there. More people are going to get signed, and your team could possibly make the Super Bowl one day. Possibly this year. But until then, folks, you know the drill. We'll see you on the next one. The next one is the best one.
That's right. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the First and 30 podcast. Until next time, remember, when your number's called, no matter the odds,
let's go for it.